My project is over the Watergate hearings of 1973. We have previously learned about the Watergate scandal that ultimately led to the resignation of President Nixon, but I'm going to do a quick overview anyway. Early on the morning of June 17, 1972, 5 men broke into the Democratic National Committee, or DNC, headquarters at the Watergate Hotel and Office Complex in Washington, D.C. A security guard discovered the team and alerted the Metro Police, who arrested the burglars, who carried more than $3,500 in cash and high-end surveillance and electronic equipment. While the burglars awaited their arraignment in federal district court, the FBI launched an investigation of the incident. The dodged reporting of 2 Washington Post journalists, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, raised questions and suggested connections between Nixon's re-election campaign and the men awaiting trial in federal district court. The White House denied any connection to the break-in, and President Richard Nixon won re-election in a landslide in November 1972. On January 10, 1973, the trial of the Watergate burglars and 2 accomplices began. After weeks of testimony, Chief Federal District Judge John Sirica expressed skepticism that all the facts in the case had been revealed. 5 men pleaded guilty and 2 were convicted by a jury. Judge Sirica urged those awaiting sentencing to cooperate with the soon-to-be-established Senate Select Committee. On February 5, 1973, Senator Edward Kennedy offered Senate Resolution 60 to establish a select committee on presidential campaign activities to investigate campaign activities related to the presidential election of 1972. Because of Kennedy's presidential aspirations, he instead offered the chair of this committee to Senator Sam Ervin of North Carolina. Well qualified to head the investigation, Senator Ervin was a former North Carolina Supreme Court justice. As chairman of the Constitutional Rights Subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Ervin had investigated a number of these issues important to the Watergate scandal, including surveillance and wiretapping. On February 7, 1973, the Senate voted unanimously to create the Select Committee. The resolution empowered 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans to subpoena witnesses and materials, provided them with $500,000 as a budget, and required them to submit a final report by February 28, 1974. The resolution granted the committee the power to investigate the break-in and any subsequent cover-up of criminal activity, as well as all other illegal, improper, or unethical conduct occurring during the presidential campaign of 1972, including political espionage and campaign finance practices. Here is Senator Ervin's opening statement in the trials.
We are beginning these hearings today in an atmosphere of utmost gravity. The questions that have been raised in the wake of the June 17 break-in strike at the very undergirding of our democracy. If the many allegations made to this date are true, then the burglars who broke into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee at Watergate were in effect breaking into the home of every citizen of the United States. And if these allegations proved to be true, what they were seeking to steal was not the jewels, money, or other property of American citizens, but something much more valuable, their most precious heritage, the right to vote in a free election.
After Hunt, Barker, Gonzalez, Martinez, and Sturgis all pleaded guilty on January 15th, Liddy and McCord were convicted by a trial on January 30th. This, however, was not the end to the Watergate hearings. After the establishment of the Select Committee in February, James McCord wrote a letter to Judge Sirica. In this letter, he claimed that the defendants had pleaded guilty under duress, and that the burglars lied at the urging of John Dean, the counsel to the president, and John Mitchell, the attorney general. This letter of accusation is what blew Watergate wide open. After the letter, which was written on March 19, 1973, John Dean began to cooperate on April 6th. Once the Senate Watergate Committee began the public hearings on May 17th, which then became nationally televised on May 18th, John Dean immediately confirmed the involvement of President Nixon in the cover-up.
The president told me I'd done a good job, and he appreciated how difficult a task it had been, and the president was pleased that the case had stopped with Liddy. I responded that I could not take credit because others had done much more difficult things than I had done. As the president discussed the the present status of the situation, I told him that all I've been able to do was to contain the case and assist in keeping it out of the White House.
Throughout the inquiry, President Nixon rebuffed the committee's requests for access to information. Claiming a constitutional separation of powers, he refused to allow his aides to testify. Senator Ervin insisted that executive privilege could not be extended to cover criminal behavior, and he threatened to authorize the sergeant-at-arms to arrest White House aides who refused to testify. Conceding to public pressure, the president allowed his aides to cooperate, but continued to deny the committee access to presidential papers. Nixon repeatedly declared that he knew nothing about the Watergate burglary, but John Dean testified that the president had approved plans to cover up White House connections to the break-in. The other former aide, Alexander Butterfield, then revealed that the president maintained a voice-activated tape recorder system in various rooms in the White House.
Mr. Butterfield, are you aware of the installation of any listening devices in the Oval Office of the President?
I was aware of listening devices. Yes, sir.
On July 26th, Senator Ervin subpoenaed the tapes that Butterfield stated existed in the White House. Nixon, however, continued to refuse their surrender, citing executive privilege. Finally, on October 19th, Nixon suggested that John Stennis, a Democratic senator from Mississippi, be permitted to listen to the tapes and summarize them for Special Prosecutor Cox. On October 20th, Cox rejected the Stennis proposal, leading to a series of events known as the Saturday Night Massacre. On this night, Nixon ordered his Attorney General, Elliot Richardson, to fire Archibald Cox. Richardson refused and then resigned. Then Nixon ordered his Deputy Attorney General, William Ruckelshaus, to do the same, and when he refuses, he is also fired. Finally, Robert Bork, the Solicitor General, now acting as the Attorney General, fired Cox, and on November 1st, Leon Jaworski is named as the new Watergate Special Prosecutor. Although Nixon continually denied any and all knowledge of the Watergate break-in and subsequent cover-up, on November 21st, the 18.5-minute gap on the White House tape is discovered, leading to further questioning. By the end of it, over 40 men with White House ties were prosecuted for somehow being involved with Watergate and its cover-up. This scandal also eventually led to Nixon's resignation.